Hey guys, I hope you're all doing okay. Today I wanted to do a Q&A since I haven't done one of those in a pretty long time. So I have all your questions here on my notebook. I took questions from both Instagram, from stories, and then I posted a YouTube story as well asking for questions. There's quite a few of them, so I'm going to try to get through as many as I can without making the video like 3 hours long. But before I get started, I want to cover a couple basics, since these are questions I get asked quite a bit. My name is Rachel Rainey. I'm 25 years old and I live in Oklahoma right now, but I am from Missouri. And art is my full-time job. So the first question is, how did you learn proportions? I learned proportions by doing lots of practicing, by doing studies and lots of life drawing. But I will say that I'm not very good at them. And I still have a lot of work I need to do because I don't put in the work as often as I should. So maybe try that. There's also lots of really great YouTube videos that break down the anatomy, and that can kind of help you figure out how to draw the proportions. Next one is, if you had to pick between watercolor and gouache, which would you choose? And honestly, this is such a hard one. I love them both so much. I would probably pick, I'm not really sure. Watercolor is like my first love, and I love it so much, but gouache has so many different uses. I'm just gonna go with watercolor. How do you manage working from home? I'm guessing they're asking how I keep on task maybe? I use a planner. It's this one right here. I actually just did a plan with me video. But I use a planner, so I mark out everything I need to do throughout the month, and then I transfer that over to weekly and then add in all the little things. That planner also has a spot for personal to-do lists, which is really great for keeping on track of cleaning and other housework that I tend to not do because I would rather be working on artwork. If you could only use one medium for the rest of your life, what would it be? That's another hard one because it's between watercolor and gouache. I don't know, because gouache has so many uses and can technically kind of be used like watercolors. But I've been doing watercolors for so much longer, so it can be a much more relaxing time. I don't know, watercolor I guess. What brand of gouache do you use? Right now I'm mainly using my Arteza gouache and then a tube of titanium white by Da Vinci. I can never remember how to say that, but yeah, so I use those and then I use the white from them, and mixing the nicer quality white with the Arteza gouache makes the gouache so much smoother. How did you learn to paint? I pretty much just learned to paint by painting. I watched a lot of speed paint videos and stuff in the beginning, but I think the just painting and experimenting and trying new things and just finding out what worked for me. When I first started using gouache though, I watched a lot of videos on how to paint with gouache since gouache was so much different from watercolors. Okay, the next one is, do you have a day job or are you only doing YouTube and commissions? I do art full time, but that's not only just YouTube. So I have YouTube and then I have, of course, my online store where I sell artwork. Those are probably my two biggest sources of income, but I also have recently started Patreon. Links below, by the way, if you want to support me. But I do Patreon as well. And then, of course, with YouTube, I have the occasional sponsored videos, which is a huge help for income. I don't usually take commissions. I don't really enjoy working on them. They more end up stressing me out more than anything. So I don't usually take commissions if I don't have to. Next one is, where do you print your small business cards? I get those printed at Moo, and honestly they're the nicest quality ever. I don't think it's 100% necessary to have such nice business cards, but I really like them and they have really great print quality, which is awesome because I like to put my artwork on one side of them. Was it hard starting a business in art? I wouldn't say it was super hard, difficulty wise, but it was a very slow start. So I started YouTube in 2016 in June 24th. And I started out just doing digital speed paints, which I wasn't very good at. I had no idea where I wanted to go with my artwork. I was following a lot of people on Instagram that were more of illustrators, and I thought I really wanted to take my art in that direction. So I started trying to draw art like that. And then at one point I decided to use a really crappy camera I had from high school to record a watercolor video. and that one actually ended up doing pretty well. I just kept doing that all the way up to the point where I did Inktober. When I did Inktober is when I actually started my store, right after Inktober. I listed everything on there as a print. I tried doing pre-orders, but none of them got ordered. But it started out very slow. I might get maybe one order a month from my store. My YouTube was making maybe 3 cents a day or something. I was really lucky to have the opportunity to do this because Bo had a job that paid pretty well, so I ended up staying at home and starting the art business. So I was really lucky in a way that my income wasn't going to hurt me, that I wasn't making any money. Without that, I would have had to work a job and then also come home and work on art stuff. But when I started, I wasn't at the skill level where I think I probably should have been. So having all that extra time really gave me the time to put in all of the work to improve my artwork. Like that year, I jumped up hugely as far as my skill level. For the most part, I would say it was frustrating and slow going. Like, I'm only just now starting to make a pretty okay amount of money. I don't know if that answers your question. How often do you paint/draw? If I'm doing really good, it'll be every day. And if I am not doing good, it will be hopefully at least once a week, but I do occasionally go a full week without drawing or painting anything. Favorite art medium and least favorite art medium. Favorite is either watercolor or gouache. And least favorite is probably either acrylics or charcoal. I hate charcoal so much. Next one is your favorite artwork you've ever done. And that would probably be, I think I did at the beginning of 2018. And it was titled Unfamiliar, and I'll put it up on the screen so you can see it. It's also probably my most popular print on my shop. But yeah, it's my favorite. I think I don't know, I haven't been able to get something I like as much as that. How did you learn to paint dark skin tones with gouache? A big part of this was participating in Melon in March last year. I'm participating again this year, but I feel like last year was a big learning thing for me. If you look at the first day that I did versus the last week, I really felt like I learned a lot, and that was from I did 31 paintings in gouache, and I painted them all pretty much straight from reference. So it was a lot of color matching and stuff. This year I'm trying to focus more on kind of stylizing them a bit so that they fit in with the rest of my artwork, and I'm trying to learn to paint darker skin tones using unnatural colors, which is something I haven't been able to get quite right yet, because usually when I paint dark skin tones I use natural colors, whereas when I usually paint I don't. So I've been trying to kind of switch that over. I really recommend participating in Melon in March if you have the time. How do you get inspired? I think that varies a lot depending on how I'm feeling that day. I might look through art books or just get on Pinterest and look at photos, or I have a folder on Instagram of just art inspiration. I have photography inspiration, and I just save stuff everywhere that might inspire me later. I don't get super inspired very often. I don't know, inspiration is kind of tough for me. I try not to depend on it too much because I don't get it very much. I honestly don't see myself as a very creative person. Some of you guys can probably relate to this, but I can't see pictures in my head, so when I close my eyes and try to picture something, it's just black. And I didn't even know that was strange until last year. Are you a girl or a boy? How do you formulate your watercolor palette for skin tones? I'll grab my palette for this one. So I probably wouldn't say that it is very skin tone-ish, but I don't usually paint skin tones with skin tones. So I pretty much have it set up to where I have my blues, purples, and greens on this side, and then warmer colors on this side, yellow, orange, and reds. I pretty much mainly paint with reds and blues, so that's why they take up the biggest chunk of my palette. But there are skin tone palettes out there, and I'm sure there's lots of videos recommending different colors to have in a skin tone palette, but I just don't paint that way. How do you get the right color palette? I'm assuming that you mean for a painting, and If you already have the sketch, I would say think about what kind of feelings you want that painting to show. That could be a good place to start. And then there's tons of lists online if you're not sure which colors relate to which feelings. Or one thing I like to do is you can get out your paint tubes and just start putting colors together. I paint with the same colors almost all of the time, so I'm probably not the best person to ask about this. Do you live alone? No, I live with Bo and my cat Xavier and my ferret Millie. How did this art passion start? I don't know, that's kind of a weird one. I've always done art, but looking back, I wouldn't say I was particularly passionate about it. I would say it mainly, the big start was when right before I started doing YouTube as a job. I had stopped working at the bank and had a lot of free time, so I somehow ended up finding artists and stuff on Instagram, which I had never even thought of as an option before for some reason. I didn't really follow a lot of artists. So in that time, I was working on art occasionally because I had all kinds of free time. And then I found all these artists on social media and I was just like, holy crap, I've been missing out on all of this. And I found a whole lot of artists that were like amazing and inspiring, and they were doing art as their job, and I was just like, I never even saw art as that kind of career option, and I was like, holy shit, I can do this. And I wanted to, and from then I pretty much just started doing it constantly. I don't know, it sounds kind of weird. Did you study art in school or art college? So in high school, I took all of the art classes. So four years of art. My school wasn't particularly good for art, though. We didn't have a lot of funding and we weren't taught a lot of things that I see a lot of other art classes going over. I wouldn't say it was a very serious class. I didn't learn a whole lot. Along with that, I also took 2 years of graphic arts, which was a 3-hour block, which I loved. But that wasn't particularly art-based. We did a lot of t-shirt designing and screen printing and stuff like that, which I really want to get back into screen printing since I haven't done it since high school. And then after high school, I went to college for like a semester and a half. The second semester, I took an art class. I think I only went for like maybe a month. It was called like line, shape, and color or something. And I, again, didn't learn anything. It was literally just teaching us like complementary colors and stuff like that. And I pretty quickly dropped out of college after that. Oh, and it wasn't an art college either. It was just literally just a community college, which I took an art class in that I didn't finish. Next one just says, room tour please. And I'm going to link in the description my last room tour I did. I probably should go ahead and record a new one for 2019 because I have changed the room quite a bit. I feel like I need more storage before I do that. The room's kind of messy. Next one is, do you think it's possible to draw without talent? This might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't really believe in talent, like some kind of skill you're born with. And even if it was a thing, it seems kind of like the lazy way out. I feel like you wouldn't get very far because you wouldn't be putting in the effort. Personally, I don't believe in talent. I think if you want to be good at something, you're going to have to put in the time to do it. I do believe in a natural interest in things, like a natural passion for things, which is why so many people are able to put in all the time to get good at it, because if you're not truly passionate about it, you're not going to want to do all the boring study work of learning how to get better. So yes. How do you manage work and routine, morning/night routine? I keep track of all my work and deadlines and everything in a planner, and a lot of that just comes from I've been doing YouTube now for like 3 years, so I kind of have a good idea of what I need to be doing, and I don't really have a morning or nighttime routine. I get my coffee in the morning before coming in here and starting work. What order do you have your gouache paints in your palette? Let's grab my other palette for this. I have them like this. So I have the Da Vinci Titanium White, a gray, black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, red ochre, yellow ochre, peach, orange, a bright red, crimson, magenta, violet. I'm not sure, that's some kind of like primary blue, maybe a phthalo blue, teal, some other mystery blue, Peruvian blue, and then emerald green, leaf green, and that used to be lemon yellow, but it has a bunch of green in it now. I'm going to do a palette tour type thing soon where I will say exactly what, I mean, I pretty much told you exactly there, but with all of my palettes, you guys seem to have a lot of questions about palette stuff. How do you get your gouache paint to easily wet and be usable so quick? Mine dries again after applying water to it. About 5 or 10 minutes before using your gouache, add a whole bunch of water to it and let it sit for that amount of time. I usually put the water in my gouache while I'm sketching or getting ready to paint, like setting up and everything. If your gouache is getting wet, just make sure to keep adding water to it. I also add water to my paint as I'm painting if I'm working on a painting that's taking a really long time. I also occasionally will squeeze fresh paint into the palette as I'm painting if I'm working on something bigger, because then it can save a little bit of time just using paint straight out of the tube. Have you been to Thailand? No, I haven't. Before we moved to Tulsa, we lived in a college town while Bo was finishing up school, and I worked at a Thai restaurant there. It was probably one of my favorite jobs, and my boss there was actually from Thailand, and she is back in Thailand now, so I would really love to go to Thailand someday and then maybe go and visit her. When did you paint for the first time ever? Oh, the first time I can remember, I'm sure I painted before that, but the first time I remember is freshman year. We did some watercolor painting. It was literally just like you get the page wet and you put the paint on the page and just like tilt the page. And it was supposed to be like trees. But yeah, that was freshman year of high school. I'm sure I painted before then, I don't remember. Would you ever collaborate on a tattoo piece? Have you ever thought about it? Maybe. I've drawn a few tattoos in the past. I don't think any of them have ever actually been used. I'm not particularly interested in taking tattoo design commissions. I think it would be better to commission a tattoo artist to do something like that, because that's what they do. So of course they're going to be better at it. But I don't know, maybe. I'm not sure what the first part of this question means, but then it asked how to lighten or darken the color after you mix them. Since I don't know which color you want to mix or anything, I can't really help you with how to make the color. But to lighten a color, depending on what kind of direction I want it to go, I would add white, yellow ochre, peach, or a yellow. And to darken, I would either do gray, black, burnt umber, maybe a dark blue, or an orange or a red. It really depends on what kind of color value you're using. I pretty much only use black to darken stuff like browns. Other than that, I will usually go with the opposite hue to darken it, and it will also desaturate it a bit. Hopefully that's helpful. Next one is, can I buy art from you? Yes, you can. My link to my store is always in the description. It is xraynee.com. You can buy artwork from me there, or you can support me on Patreon on like a monthly basis. I have a tier for stickers where I'll send out a sticker to you every month, and a tier for an artist trading card where I paint a little painting and send those out every month. Did you ever have to deal with depression? And if so, how are you now? I'm doing okay. How long is your brainstorming process? I feel like it takes me so long to develop ideas, but a lot of artists just have them handy. I don't know. I guess it depends on what I'm brainstorming. A lot of the times, if I'm looking for ideas, I will literally just get some printer paper and sit down and doodle a whole bunch. I don't know, a lot of my art is pretty just like portraits, so I don't feel like there's a lot of brainstorming involved in that. It's more of putting together references. Like, I like to Frankenstein them together. I've been trying to work on that lately, and it is taking me a while because I'm not used to coming up with compositions and ideas, I guess. I would say you probably don't need to worry about how long it takes you to come up with your ideas, because it's all part of the process. I would also say that you don't need to worry about having some amazing idea. All of your paintings don't need to have some massive meaning behind them if you don't want them to. Would you like to spend time in another country to get inspired of other people? I'm guessing you mean inspired by other people, like other cultures perhaps. But yeah, I would love to spend time in another country to get inspired. That sounds amazing. Any advice on painting? That's a very general question. this is one I need to remember myself, is to try to be less like precious about it. Like I tend to use a very small brush and try to put in as many details as possible, and I get really close to it and make sure everything is perfect. But I need to remember to loosen up, so use a bigger brush than I would normally go for, and experiment more. Like, don't be afraid to do something that might not look good. This one I thought was really funny. Are you an artist? Yes. And the last one is, could you meet any artist, either present or past, who would it be? I don't know. I have two answers for this one, because on one hand, I want to say Audrey Claire because she's my favorite artist. I just think her artwork is like so amazing. But on the other hand, I would really like to meet Arlie Bean or someone in person. I also think it'd be pretty cool to meet Kit King and Oda. I don't know. There's so many amazing artists that I would love to meet. But yeah, that's all the questions. I have a feeling that this video is going to end up being super long, so thanks if you watched the whole thing. Hopefully some of these questions are helpful, and hopefully all the answers actually make sense. After recording these, I always feel a bit crazy, like I've just been rambling on and on and on and not making any sense. So I'll see you guys soon for the next video. Bye.